Oh, there you are. It's Thursday, and guess what, Dave? That means we're reacting to Star Trek Picard Season 2, Episode 5. Fly me to
the moon.
and something else. There was a better rendition inside the episode, but well, no, actually, no, it wasn't.
It was more instrumental, as I recall.
It was very jazzy version. Which, mind you, the original has a little bit of jazz to it, I guess. But overall, I think Jessie Gender on YouTube probably did the best rendition of it so far. I don't know if you've seen her video yet, but
no, I'm only familiar with the Vic Fontaine. I'm sorry.
Oh, the Vic Fontaine. Okay, well, there's no Vic Fontaine in this episode, at least not yet, anyway. Why don't we just get started right into it? It's a great episode. I liked it. Yeah, let's talk about it, Dave. Let's get it going.
Let's get it going, Jode.
Let's get her going. Oh, yeah. Jode, don't call me Jode.
Jody.
Anyway, there you go. That's better. All right, let's get it going. Let's get the share in here. You gonna do that, or am I? All right.
You do it, or I do it.
We both did. I tried to. There we go. All right, there we go.
All right.
Can I get the full screen on this? I might be able to. Okay, there we go. All right, so we basically start right off. We see this warning. We don't really know what's going on, but we assume we're probably in a shuttle, I'm guessing. And certainly enough, we see this lady who looks oddly like the lady that we saw at the end of the last episode. I wonder if that'll play a part sometime soon. But anyway.
Yeah, well, like I had read on Memory Alpha last week that this was going to be Renee Picard. So like the reveal here wasn't that much of a shock for me, but watching it with Jane again this afternoon, she was like, yeah, okay, Renee Picard. Okay, that's interesting.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah, this is Renee, which turns out to be a long lost relative of, well, not lost, I guess, but a long relative. This is Jean-Luc Picard's great aunt, or great aunt, or one of the great aunts anyway.
Not a direct ancestor, we're saying, right? Is that
not? Well, she's part of the family.
But she's not his direct aunt. Like she's not. Like her
no,
child
apparently she's the sister of his direct relative.
Okay. According to Rios.
Yes, according to Rios, but who knows, right? Anyway, it is what it is. We get this little kind of panic kind of thing going on. It looks like, we're panicking, and all of a sudden, and then literally it cuts out and goes into this apartment. And we see the Gary 7 door fog thing show up, and it was really hard to get a capture of it. Sorry. But it is what it is, I guess. Anyway, sorry. Let me just make this a little bit bigger here. Sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing this. All right, there we go. That's a little bit better. All right, let's do that. All right. Okay, sorry about that.
I was like, what's happening?
I couldn't see the screen, so it's like either I stare away from everybody or I look at the screen, right? So anyway, and we get the person who is not Laris.
Talon.
This is Talon, yes. And he's like, hey, why are we where are we? What are we doing here? She basically brought him to the apartment because she feels safer there. This is, I guess, her apartment. Interestingly decorated, might I add. It's got a lot of cameras, which I guess is to signify that she's a supervisor. She's a watcher. And also the ship I thought was a little out of place, but also interesting because I guess she's a traveler as well.
I guess, but like I was trying to figure out what the trinkets represented, because she talked about how Renee Picard, who she's assigned to watch over
for the last 24 years.
Yeah, for her whole life. And she talked about how Renee was became a sailor. And so I was like, are these like items that she's collected from Renee's life, or is sort of like, is that what this is? Like almost like a museum about what Renee's been up to?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've gotten a couple close-ups of it. Nothing interesting that I thought, other than the abundant amount of cameras, which I guess would lead us to believe that she is a watcher, and that makes sense, I guess. But overall, I just think it was very interesting design, very bare bones, which I guess kind of makes sense because she's always traveling to follow Renee, I guess. So every time Renee, goes to college or whatever, she probably has to kind of book it and take off. So, I guess that kind of.
I guess it depends on we know that she has basically a form of transporter technology, much like the Gary 7. Did we even establish where this apartment was? Was it Los Angeles or is it somewhere else?
I don't know if we ever did. No. So this could be anywhere. This could be Chicago. I'm guessing it's wherever Renee is, which, as far as we know, is Los Angeles.
Right,
but
because she wasn't that we see that she's not actually in space at the beginning of the episode. It's a simulator. It's a space.
That's right. Yeah, we turn out it's a simulator, which I think they do zip back to. So I might have the clips are in the order of the appearance in the video. So who knows? But she basically is like, I've kind of brought you here because this is where I feel safe, and yeah, if you're going to try to do anything, well, it's much easier to clean up. Right?
If I have to kill you,
it's a little jolting.
I'd rather do it at home. That's how I do things.
Yeah. I rather kill you at home. I guess is really the objective here. But Picard's just kind of like, okay, I guess. And then she pulls a phaser on him.
Is that like the Gary 7 phaser too? Is that like the same?
It's very interesting. I don't know if it's exactly the same idea. It's kind of like that side phaser thing. I'm trying to remember what it's from. Where it kind of comes out from the side, it kind of folds out.
Yeah, well, like Tully and Soren in Star Trek Generations.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. You're right, absolutely. Yeah. It was the Soren one. Yeah, very similar to the Soren one, which I wonder if that's going to play a part later on.
Well, he was El-Orion, like Guinan, so
that's maybe. Right. So and they don't like him, so maybe this is a stolen weapon from an El-Orion. Who knows, right? Anyway, either way, interesting pickup. Actually, I never even put 2 and 2 together on that one. So good job. Anyway, we go back to Renee in the shuttle, which at this point we know they're running into a problem. There's some sort of comet debris or something. I guess
Russian satellite debris.
Russian satellite debris. That's it. So she's basically panicking, and you can see the anxiety. Like there's massive anxiety going on. And she literally then somebody comes over the speaker and says, "Okay, you're dead." And she's like, you got to be kidding me, right? And she's kind of pissed off, and she takes off her helmet. She's got a breathing thing going on right now. She's in a panic attack, really, is the easiest way to look at it. She's suffering from anxiety, which I'm sure I would have the exact same problem. So, yeah, I'm not going to knock her for that. But she gets very angry. You can tell she's angry at herself as well, which is a very, very good portrayal, I thought. The only thing I don't like about this is if you look at the screenshot, that the earmuffs are very loose, which would never happen in an NASA shuttle.
It's meant to be tight, right?
It's got to be tight, yeah.
Do you know why they wear earmuffs?
Well, I think it's also just to give them better hearing, so that way, it shields out the outside. Because I'm sure these things rattle when you're going into space.
Make a lot of noise, and
yeah, they make a lot of noise. I'm sure.
Right. Who's playing Renee? Penelope Mitchell is playing Renee Picard,
Mitchell, yeah.
Who I gotta think is she's Australian in real life. Yes. So because in the previous episode, Jody, like he was talking about, well, my family actually fled the chateau and went to England for a bunch of years, and then eventually came back to France. But she talked like Talon explains to us that Renee grew up in like the south of France, and she wears a French flag, but she has a British accent. And so I'm like, what's
which is indicative of the Picards during World War II. So that kind of makes sense.
But this is almost 100 years after World War II.
This is, yes. So. Yeah, a little odd, I guess, but let's go with it.
I guess I'm going with it.
Does it really matter? I guess is what it comes down to.
Maybe not. Think? Like, I guess it depends on whether Renee is just a family member of the Picard clan or she's an actual direct descent or ancestor of Picard. Because the only reason that would matter is if her death would negate Picard's existence, but if she's not a direct,
so I get the impression because he somebody refers to as a great auntie of his, so that would lead me to believe is even if she did die, her mother her sister would be a relative of a Picard
or a cousin or something, like
or even it could even be her brother. Her brother could be.
Right. So the family tree is a little unclear.
We don't have any family tree thing going on here where this is almost all speculation, but that's what it is.
In Picard's, like in previous appearances with Picard in the past, like in Generations, when his nephew Renee died, which I think is interesting that the name Renee is coming back up here.
Well, I think that was unintentionally. I think it's to show that it's like a heritage thing, right?
Right. And that, he talked about all the Picards who were the first pioneers to Mars, the Picards who did the first things. But then there was also that episode, if you remember, with Wesley. Remember the last episode with Wesley Crusher, where it was like the beginning of the Maquis storyline, and it was about like taking these Native Americans off of a planet and whatever. And that guy comes out and says, my ancestor was killed by your ancestor, Picard. The stain of blood on your conscience. He's like, I didn't know about that. So the Picards have been busy, just like these Soongs are busy. And apparently
there's nobody more busier than the Soongs. Let's be honest.
Has there ever been a more relevant family in Star Trek universe than the Soong
I think they
family?
are the most important family in Star Trek. Let's be honest.
Now,
like,
especially
even compared to Picard and
Picards and the Kirks, like they don't have anything on the Soongs
anymore.
The
Soongs. There's like a billion of them. Like there's so many of them, and they all look like Brent Spiner.
And they're all dicks.
Yeah, almost all of them are dicks. The one that we see here, though, which we're going to find out shortly, is I don't consider him a dick. He's doing what he needs to do to try to get things right. But
in the same way that the other Soong that was in Enterprise, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, I'm interested in this because this to me looks like a ship with a sail. So I don't know if that's actually what it is.
Actually, yeah, I didn't know what it was when I saw it. I think you're right. It might.
It might be a ship with a sail. I don't know what it is, but they definitely show her like kissing it and stuff, and so it's obviously some sort of heirloom, some sort of good luck charm or something. I don't actually know what it is. Maybe we'll find that out later. I'm guessing it's a boat of some sort.
I think you're right about that. I didn't know what it was, but I think because she has, and the fact that Talon had the sail ship and her.
Yeah, the whole ship thing seems to be coming up a lot in this episode, which is interesting. So
she's a sailor.
Maybe there's something else going on. Well, she was a sailor. They did mention that.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe part of not Laris. What's the other girl's
Renee.
name? No. The Laris that isn't Laris.
The non-Laris. Talon.
Non-Laris. Talon. So maybe Talon, because she's followed her through her travels, has learned to love boating as well and stuff like that. So maybe that's part of it. Who knows? But anyway, I thought it was interesting to see that, so I tried to get a shot of it, and obviously we get her badge, which is this. The one thing I did like to see is, if you notice the top of the other badge here, we see X1, which usually is experimental ships. So that should be interesting. So we'll see where that pans out, but either way, they did a great job with the badges and stuff, I thought.
Right. And Picard even says in this episode, like, our understanding of the history during this era is very chaotic. I guess, like, because the years leading up to, like, the Third World War and then First Contact that comes after with the Vulcans is kind of shaky. So
what's interesting is, on my second watch through of this episode, because I had to do a second one for all the screenshots, I didn't notice this before in the opening credits. This thing.
Okay. What are we looking at?
That's the Q logo.
Oh, like the 3D printer. Okay.
So that's the Q logo, but I didn't never clued into that at all. No idea. I was just like,
no, we had no context. Yeah.
No context at all. But now that we have the context, which we'll see later, and I have a nice little Easter egg for you on that as well. Should be interesting. So we'll keep going here. So anyway, we now open up to after our soft open there, we open up to this. This is Chateau Picard, obviously. And we notice that the computer screens are starting to, flick around and do some stuff, which is interesting. And it turns out that the Borg Queen is looking at cellular networks, which is very interesting. I thought very cool. Now, the one thing I have to give this lady credit for, sorry, what's her name again?
Annie Wershing.
Fantastic facial expressions. Fantastic.
She's great.
And I'm going to tell you why. And I don't even know if you noticed this. So the scene basically opens up with her trying to access, and she's using the voice computer commands to try to access the cellular network. So she starts mimicking people. Did you notice that her facial expressions are actually mimicking them too? Especially Rios.
Rios, and Girardi, I thought too.
Like Girardi and Rios, she got spot on. We couldn't really see her do Picard very well.
It was like pulled back, yeah.
Yeah, it was pulled back too far. But some of the expressions that she got were fantastic. Like this is the one for this was when she was doing Girardi. But obviously the voiceover is obviously done by the real actor.
Right. But it's just when she did her
facial
mouth.
Expressions are fantastic. It sold me on it completely. I was like, wow. And I actually played it back again and again, trying to figure out if like it was done on purpose or if it was just coincidence. No, totally on purpose. This woman is stellar. I was absolutely. You know what? And I gave her so much shit in the first episode, and now I'm like, wow.
Well, yeah, because she was like
fantastic.
She was so broken when we first met her, and she was like basically like catatonic almost. And then,
exactly, for sure. So, but yeah, like even the facial. Here's her Rios facial expression. I tried to get something that would kind of make sense, but it was hard to do, unfortunately. But yeah, if anybody who's watching this now, if you're rewatching the episode, when you get to this scene, just picture Rios doing what she's doing, and picture that, and you're like spot on, amazing,
Right.
very well done. Anyway, we noticed that when she finally uses Rios's voice command, she gets authorization to actually use the computer,
Which made sense.
and at that point, she now gets access to the cell phone towers. Turns out she's making a phone call, and she's making a phone call to the French police.
Yep.
But first, she obviously talks to the operator. Would you like to place a call? And then somebody picks up, National Police. And she's like, "Help! I've been abducted. Blah blah blah. This woman is being attacked. Blah blah blah. There are screams coming from the Picard vineyard." Which apparently is a vineyard that's so well known that they just know exactly where
they just know it. You don't need an address.
They don't need it. They don't need an address or anything. It's just like, oh, the old Picard vineyard. It's kind of like the old amusement park in the Scooby-Doo cartoons, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we know where that is. Don't worry about it.
Again, it's been abandoned for 80 years at this point.
Yeah, but people still know where it is. But anyway, details. What does it matter, right? Come quickly, right? And the guy's like, "Oh, we'll send an officer right away." And then we cut over to Rios's bus vacation. And the two of them, now I have to admit, I didn't mind this scene because I liked how there was definitely a contrast between the two of them, because literally Raffi is like, "Fuck time, we're gonna go get him, we're gonna do it, blah blah blah," and Seven's like, no, let's do it where we don't screw up everybody." Right, either way they're gonna screw it up anyway, though, because if they're letting out people that wouldn't have been let out,
yeah, like
you're
that's
still
the
screwing
thing.
up time.
Yeah,
right?
so they're like, "Oh, we can't beam him out because the effect on the timeline will be devastating." But yeah, these guys all would have went to Sanctuary in the original timeline as well, and now they didn't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. So,
like,
but the two of them are fighting, and then we get kind of a contrast. And Raffi's like, "You don't act quick enough," and Seven's like, "Well, you don't think quick enough, or you don't think right, or something like that." I can't remember the exact quote, but it was a nice little exchange.
it was kind of like you're going with you just want to punch something, I think Seven says, and Seven's trying to help her with her grief around Elnor, and
yes,
and
she definitely has some PTSD here. Like she's in bad shape, like, and they keep showing it. And I have to give credit to what is it, Michelle Hurd? She's plays Raffi. You know what? She's really blown up this season. Last season, I didn't care for her acting at all. This season, she's really putting her all in, and it's fantastic.
She's better written this season too. They all are.
Yes, that's true. That's true. The writing is definitely important. They can only work with what they get, right? So, but anyway, we get to see Rios on the bus here, and then we get to see that jackass ice guy. I don't even remember what his name is, but the two of them are still fighting here, and they're the bus is zooming towards them. So at this point, it's like, just trust me, Raffi. Just give me the goddamn thing. Like, we're gonna do this right. And then we see this other guy here. I can't remember his name, Pedro or something like that. No, I'm not trying to be racist. I actually think it is Pedro or something like that. But anyway,
he's double fist. He hits that ice guard.
And then we get to see the galaxy flip again, which is now a tricorder. But either way, it's the same thing. So if you notice, it says EMP generation. So at least they got the graphics correct. So they're going to do an EMP burst. So at this point they do the burst. This is the only good capture I could get out of that whole scene. So it gives you kind of an idea. But basically they set off an EMP burst. They all feel the shake on the bus, and then all of a sudden the bus shuts down and comes to a stop. Which is obviously, and now I did like the line she said something like, "A moving target is an easy target," or something like that. I can't remember exactly what she said, but very, very Seven. What she said.
I think if it's a stationary target's easier than a moving
stationary target's easier than a moving target. Yeah, that's what she said. But anyway, and I just liked how they handled the scene for the most part. And then Rios is like, "Well, we're dead in the water now, which means my people are probably here, which means yeah, get ready." And this guy's like, "Don't cause any shit, man. Like, I don't want to die." And be prepared to move fast, and maybe we can get home today. And this guy's like, "Don't try anything stupid. I think my friends have already taken care of that." And yeah. right he is for sure. But I do like the humor that they're putting into the show in season 2. We didn't get a lot of humor at all in season 1. We got some forced crap from Girardi. But the humor, I think, is a much needed thing in this show.
Yep.
It definitely breaks up the monotony a bit, which is nice.
There's a chemistry with the cast more than there was in that first season for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So they're almost like comrade in arms now, right? So it's a little bit nicer.
And this episode directed by Jonathan Frakes too. Like
yes, I forgot to mention that. Yes, who has directed many episodes of Star Trek, and has done pretty well. So it's nice to see. But the thing that also makes me interested is if Jonathan Frakes is directing this episode, that means he was on the lot to do some cameo stuff. So I'm willing to bet that we're going to see that, especially when we see a scene coming up shortly from a previous director.
Right.
So we know that that's going to happen.
You think we're going to see a Riker ancestor, like good old?
I think we're going to see
Bill?
Riker. I think we're going to see Riker at some point.
Actual Riker,
like actual Riker. So because they're not going to be here the entire next 5 episodes.
We're halfway through the season. I don't know how much faster.
Yeah, I don't know how much farther they can drag this, quite honestly, but we'll see. But Steve Shives, I watched his video today. He's not happy with the pacing of the season.
Well, and that would be my one criticism of like everything that happened here. Like they rescue Rios off the thing, and then I was coming back to like, why did these 3 go to Los Angeles in the first place before Rios got injured and
to find the Watcher.
So they basically failed their mission because Picard did that.
They totally failed it. Yeah.
So
they totally failed it, and he got locked up. So these 2 now have the duty to get him unlocked up. Right.
So all this was a kind of a waste of time, right? Like
this whole ice subplot is probably the worst part about this season so far. Is the ice subplot makes no real sense other than to sideline a good character for an episode.
Like 3 episodes. It was like 2 or 3 episodes. Like they were.
Yeah.
Kind of
all last episode was him literally just standing around, right? Like there wasn't a lot going on. But anyway, so we see the door open to the bus. She shoots the guy because at this point they've already started the attack, and the driver just pulled out his handgun. And then I guess she phases him or stuns him or something. I don't know really what she's doing, but we know she has a phaser. So I can't really tell. It looks to me like it's the tricorder, but.
It's almost like she EMP'd him, but I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, it doesn't work on people, but maybe they have some sort of other pulses. Well, I guess maybe it could work on people. I don't know, but I'm no doctor. But anyway, let's move on. So anyway, the fight ensues with Rios and Dickhead Iceguard. Yeah. And then at that point, Pedro here just knocks him out, which is fantastic. Nice little bitch slap with cuffs on.
It is Pedro.
Is it a Pedro? I thought it was Pedro. I wasn't trying to be like, insensitive or anything.
As played by Oscar Camacho.
Oscar Camacho. All right. I hope to see him again. He was kind of cool.
I think, they gave him some lines.
Yeah. So anyway, at this point, we see Raffi trying to get people out of the bus, and one of them looks like Elnor.
They are even deporting Romulans, Jody, on Homeland Security.
Can you believe that, Dave? Like, the gall.
Can't even a Romulan make it in America?
Yeah. So anyway, I guess they finally decided that Elnor needed to be in the episode somewhere so he could retain his paycheck. I don't know what's going on here.
He's been dead.
But either way, yeah. Well, he's been dead for a little while, at least a couple episodes. But this is obviously Raffi, looking at somebody, and then she's definitely got PTSD.
This guy does look a lot like him. Is it the
same?
Does,
yeah.
Actor, right?
Yeah, definitely not the same person. No,
okay.
I don't think so. I really don't think so, but maybe. I don't know. But anyway, I think just same kind of hair, and he's got the same shirt on. But anyway, and then Raffi's like, it kind of gives her head a shake, and she's like, oh shit, it wasn't him. And then you can see she's noticeably upset at this point. And then this is where basically Seven's like, I got your back. You got my back, right? Like, all this, and it's another kind of sensitive scene, I guess. They're really trying to sell us on this whole the 2 of them thing, which I think they're doing okay with. But anyway,
okay with, but I just did like this whole side plot where they have to go rescue Rios, but because there was nothing accomplished, it just feels like they got themselves in trouble and then they got themselves out of trouble. Okay,
this expression, the reason why I grabbed this one was because this is kind of how I feel about the whole ice subplot.
And moving on,
moving on. So now we're back at not Laris's apartment. Talon, there you go.
Why do you think she looks like Laris? Like, there's got to be.
I don't know yet. Is
this Laris just in the past? That's my working theory right now.
Well, I think what ends up happening is Laris, the one that Picard knows, ends up being her later on.
Yeah,
and she has been assigned to him. I would really love it if they do some classics, next gen scenes and like superimpose her into like 10 forward or something. That would be pretty cool.
She was always there.
Yeah, she was always there. We just didn't realize it, that kind of thing. Just to get some B-roll or something and put her in there, and just something that we didn't see in the show or something, and just to make it more authentic. But either way, it's yeah, I love this actress. I the more time she's on screen, I'm happy. So she's engaging to watch. So it's fantastic. But anyway, so basically the two of them sit down and they're talking about how Renee is going to, just had a psych eval done. And she was sitting down with the doctor, and not Laris, Talus. What is it? Talus? Talon. Okay, I'm gonna try to remember. So Talon's like, I don't think she's gonna get on this ship, man. Like she's gone. Like she's full of anxiety. She's doubting herself. She's obviously we saw her earlier with that anxiety as well. So overall, this is interesting. So it's she's like, I've been following her for 24 years. I don't think she's going to get on this ship, man. Like she's not going to get there. And then we get back to the thing, and she's kind of talking about the grief and stuff like that, and how she's having a hard time.
Yeah, and so like I think that this part was good and everything. Like, well, like, she's this amazing woman with this bright mind, and she can do all these things. She went into university at 16 years old, but on the other hand, she struggles with depression and anxiety, which a lot of people do, especially.
Absolutely.
I think especially under 30 crowd these days seem to be more particularly affected, maybe because the pandemic was a bigger chunk of time for them.
Yeah.
In their life, sure. And like in the grand total of
their life.
It
took away some of the stuff that we had, right? So it's for them it's much different. I do like the fact that they're dealing with this stuff in Star Trek, though. We don't get a lot of anxiety in Star Trek. Like we had Barclay. Barclay had a lot of anxiety, which was great to see. Like it was I didn't necessarily like Barclay as a character, but I think whenever Star Trek tackles stuff that's a little off the cuff like this, I think they're doing a great job with it, and I'm glad to see that they're doing that stuff.
Sometimes I wonder if they're trying to do too much, because I feel like and because
that's how I feel about Discovery.
It's kind of the same thing to me, because
Discovery is doing too much to do that.
In Discovery, it's the same kind of thing, because Discovery, you have Sonequa Martin Green, who is an executive producer over there. Over here, you have Patrick Stewart as an executive producer as well. Yeah. And I feel like in both cases, the actors are like, I want to talk about these issues. I want to talk about, I think,
get it Picard, in the story somehow.
I want to talk about pit bulls. I want to talk about ICE immigration issues. I want to talk about
and that's the thing. And Steve Shives, if you watch his channel, and I highly suggest anybody who's watching this does, because he does some fantastic stuff. I was watching his reaction video a little bit earlier, and he's like, and he thinks the exact same thing I think too. Like, if you're gonna bring up this whole ICE thing and immigration and stuff like that, do something with it. And they really didn't do anything with it.
Right.
Like there's after Rios is freed, like that's literally, there's no other consequence. Like we haven't seen anything yet. Anyway, maybe they will, but either way, I just think that it's fine to put in these issues. I'm more than happy to have that. Same thing with the sexuality and stuff like that. I'm all for that. But I agree with you. I think we put a little too much in sometimes.
And have a
Discovery
point.
is definitely part of that. Yeah, and have a point to it, because it's not doing anybody any favors if you're going to put it in and not actually do something with it. Like if you're just going to mention it, you're not really doing any service to anybody at that point. So anyway, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's not Debbie Downer this whole episode, because there's a lot of great stuff here. So anyway, Talon. I'm so used to seeing her as Laris. So Talon pulls out this nifty little thing. We're not totally sure what it is, but one thing it can do is play back video. And she starts playing back the actual recording of the session, and Picard's like, wait, that's a privileged thing. You're not supposed to have that. And she just looks at him and goes, oh, really?
I was like, really, Picard? You're gonna this is
I watched this kid for 24 years, and you're gonna tell me that this is the biggest problem I have?
Yeah,
come on, whatever.
Like this was I thought that was so weird that they threw
it was a weird line, but I understand why they put it in. It was more of a comedic thing than anything. The way I received it anyway.
It's consistent with Picard, I guess, but it's also kind of like, come on, Picard.
Yeah, it's a little weird. But anyway, we get to see the playback, and then Picard basically goes, wait, this guy's basically trying to talk her out of going on the mission. Can you show me a face of him? And sure enough, it's good old Q.
Q doing his like Sigmund Freud impression.
Yeah, which is a terrible impression, but like, do they care? No, it doesn't seem like it matters. So that's cool.
Well. What do we got?
And he stands up and he's angry because he's like, wait a second, this is making more sense now, right? Which to us as the viewer, it's making more sense now. Oh, now we understand what's going on here, right? And then we go to kind of a courtroom, environment, and Leah Thompson, who is obviously from Back to the Future fame and of course directed the last 2 episodes. She's got a nice little cameo in here. She plays a can't remember the actual name of.
She's like the chairman of this scientific committee or something.
He's basically going in front of a place that deals with the funding and the all that stuff. So I'm guessing it's like the college that he's being sponsored by or something like that, or the university maybe.
Diane Werner is the name of the character.
Diane Werner, there you go. So she's the chairman of this board, and then she has 2 co-chairs with her as well.
Did you notice the last name on one of them?
No, but I do have a plaque coming up for it, so we'll see it in a second, okay? We get introduced to this character here, played by Brent Spiner. Always great to see him again. Adam Soon, yes, which some people have misquoted as being Eric Soon, and it is not. So I'm not totally sure why that's happening, but I've seen a couple of reviews today that all mentioned Eric Soon, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. It's Adam. But anyway, that's fine. So, and then we kind of get, it cuts between him talking to this board and this like life pictures thing.
Nice house.
So this is his house. Nice little house, obviously in LA.
Nice little house,
yeah, just a little tiny,
just a little quaint bungalow,
just a quaint one with a nice little hot tub and a huge pool. But it's all good. Lots of gas. But what's interesting is he's entering a room, and there's a woman there, and he's entering a room, and he kind of has to go through like a gas shield. So it's obviously a sterile room, and then turns out there's Soji, but it's not Soji.
It's not Soji.
It turns out that this is his daughter.
Yes, another
Adam Soon's daughter, which would make sense because let's be honest, everybody in the Soon family looks exactly like everybody else in the Soon family. So
not a lot of genetic diversity.
The females all look like Isa Brunas and
Isa Briones. Yeah. Because I was wondering like if she was even going to be in this season at all, other than in that first episode, because Q, he plucks out these certain people like Elnor and Raffi and whoever to join Picard on this quest, but
which is odd if you don't want them to help. Right?
And Soji didn't come along.
Yeah, I still don't think we know everything about what's going on with the Q thing.
No, I'm very confused about what Q's motivations are.
Why would he bother to bring them? Why would he bother to isolate them? That makes no sense.
And why leave Soji out?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Soji
obviously
in this timeline
here
is a real person, or at least we think she is. But yeah, Elnor is kind of here, I guess, but not. But anyway,
dead.
He's dead now. But anyway, so we see this girl. I guess we just got her as she was working out, so she put some clothes on apparently after this. But I do like this little speech that he says about the pearl. And he goes, if I can give you one pearl of wisdom and blah, 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 blah. And he goes off about all these things. And then he goes, people are jackasses. Like they suck. Like
people are idiots.
Yeah, they're idiots basically. Which I thought was kind of a neat little line.
Really interesting because years ago I was doing an event right beside Brent Spiner at Fan Expo while he was signing autographs, and I could hear him talking to people, and he was like, "People are idiots," and it was just like, so Brent Spiner. This is so Brent Spiner.
I was lucky enough to meet him at a Star Trek convention, and he's a very nice guy to talk to. He's a lot of fun. So at least he was when I was there anyway.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm sure we all have our days, but
I don't know if he's nice or not. I just think he's an opinionated guy.
He was nice to me. That's all I can tell you. And he was a nice guy. So
because he's so like the real Brent Spiner, and a lot of the characters he plays are so
very
different
goofy.
Yeah, he's so different than Data. He's a goofy.
Yeah, Data is probably the most streamlined, kind of straight cut character that
so far from who he really is. So far from his real personality.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really nice to see him here. I like to see him without all the stupid makeup on him and stuff as well, which is nice. And then we go back to that. So yeah, we got Diana Werner there, chairman, and then we got Vasily. I've cut off here.
That's the one I'm talking about. It's Dr. Vasily Roshenko.
Oh, there you go.
Next
That's
generation.
we all know.
Can't get away from Alexander, Jody, even here.
fucking Alexander. Fuck Alexander.
The Roshenko family, which would go on to adopt Worf later on in Alexander.
Yeah.
And the other thing too about
Alexander sucks.
The whole Leah Thompson thing too, it reminded me a lot of Back to the Future and like that audition that Marty does at the very beginning
with Huey Lewis.
With Huey Lewis and like the three judges. They're like, you're just too damn loud.
Yeah, you're just too damn loud. Yeah. So anyway, we see Brent Spiner giving an injection to what's her name?
Corey. I wasn't quite clear on that.
Yeah. So anyway, he's not actually injecting her. He's actually taking blood. Which is interesting, I thought. Yeah, so there you go. So, and then he studies her blood, and whatever he's trying to do, it's not working. Which we find out later that she's got a disease that's a genetic fault, and he's trying to cure it. And he's a geneticist, so that's kind of ironic. But anyway, obviously he's very sad at these results. Again, Brent Spiner's fantastic. Oh, there you go. I got a better one there. Rosenko. Oh, there it is, right there, Vice Chair. Awesome. I think the worst thing about this is that they're using Surface tablets. Anybody who works with Surface tablets knows that you don't want to use those if you don't need to. But anyway, anyway, let's move on. But Leah Thompson, she's got quite a lot of things here. But basically, she's like, "Listen, Adam, you're a jackass, and you're doing things totally wrong. You're not allowed to do what you're doing, and you're trying to do it, and we're not funding you anymore. We're done." And they're basically cutting him off and dropping his license.
They mentioned some kind of convention or something, and you got to remember, this is a world where like the eugenics wars happened like 30 years ago, right? And Khan Noonien Singh tried to take over the world and then took off.
Yeah, and that's one thing a lot of people forget is they're trying to compare this to us. And no, this timeline is a different universe.
This is a different universe, and some things are the same. But
there's a lot of people who are complaining about that too. It's like there's no way in 2024 we're gonna have these drone things that can create shields and stuff. And it's like, no, we're not going to, because we're not part of this timeline.
We don't live in the Star Trek universe.
We're not in the Star Trek universe. This is called science fiction, and you just need to move on.
We also don't have an El-Orion living on the planet, probably.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I thought it was great to see Leah Thompson in this. It was great to give her a little bit of a kind of. I'm guessing this is her last appearance with the show, one way or the other.
I wonder if we're going to see her again.
Yeah, because I'm willing to bet Jonathan Frakes is going to get a couple of things. Oh, I think we have a visitor, Dave. Oh, it's Davan. All right.
Sorry,
Hi, Davan. No worries. Anyway, this is where we're at, so you can start chiming in as of this point if you want. So Leah Thompson, we were very happy to see her. I think this is going to be the end of Leah Thompson for this season. I don't think we're going to see any more episodes. Maybe we will. Who knows? She's got a great cinematic eye, though, and it's something who I think she does a great job. So I hope to see her direct some more stuff. But I also think Jonathan Frakes knows how to shoot this show correctly. I think either way, we're in good hands. So we're good so far. But
he also directs a lot of episodes of Discovery for them.
Yes, he does. Yeah, he does a lot of everything.
But don't hold that against him.
Yeah.
Hey, now
I'm not.
There's a lot of people that like it, but I'm not one of them. But anyway, so we have Adam, and Adam's very upset. But you got to remember, he's also fighting for his kid here. Like he's not just fighting because he wants to do it. He's trying to use this medical research for his kid as well. Like, this is not just a thing. So anyway, he goes back to his lab, and all of a sudden he turns around to his ultra wide Samsung monitor. Well, I'm guessing it's Samsung. I don't actually know who sponsors the show, but anyway, and all of it says is, "I can help." And he's like, whoa. And then it's like, check your 3D printer. Now, this guy has the fastest fucking 3D printer in existence, apparently. So in this universe, 3D printers actually do work very fast. Ours don't. Okay. But anyway, it is what it is. And it prints off this nice little calling card.
Jody, this is the future.
This is 2024 in a different alternate universe. This isn't our universe, and everybody has to understand that.
We were just talking about that, Davan.
We were literally just talking about it before.
This is a world where the eugenics wars happen. This is a world where Gary 7 was running around and doing things, and
everybody probably thought that episode was good.
Yeah, they thought it was.
Dave's dad should be in this universe.
But like their history, like the history and the circumstances of their universe are very similar to ours, but obviously not in a lot of other ways. Yeah. So
So anyway, we see this 3D printed object, which the first time around I didn't actually understand what the hell it was until he actually pulled it out. Because when you see it like this, it's like, what the hell is this thing, right? Because obviously we have the extra stuff on it. But what I thought was really interesting is he brings up this card, and at this point we can see it's a Q, right?
Mm-hmm.
We pretty much get the gist that it's a Q. Now this is really interesting, guys, and I got a little Easter egg for you. If you actually call that phone number, because that's a phone number.
It's not a 555, yeah.
No, it's an actual phone number, which in a second here I'm going to actually call. But I thought it was very cool. So anyway, here we go.
They want people to call it, don't they?
Is it Q?
Here we go.
Hello, you have reached the Q continuum. We are unable to get to the phone right now because we are busy living in a plane of existence your feeble mortal minds cannot possibly comprehend.
Wow.
Furthermore, it's pointless to leave a message because we, of course, already knew that you would call, and we simply do not care. Have a nice day.
But they even got John Delancey to do that. I thought that was fantastic. But the minute I saw that number, I'm like 323. That's Los Angeles area code, right? So I'm like, I wonder if it's a real number. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna call. I don't care how much it costs. So I gave it a call, and sure enough, I heard that. So I'm like, oh, I got to play that back on our reaction video. So I don't know if anybody actually called that or not, but I did because I'm just the nerd like that. So anyway, turns out they actually do have a recording there. It's a nice little Easter egg.
That's a nice one. Very, very cool. I'm glad we got that.
Cool to do that. Yeah, very cool.
Good job.
So, but anyway, I thought it was pretty neat. So anyway, pretty cool. But anyway, there's this calling card that gets printed from the.
What's going on with Q? Like, we know he can't do the snap. We saw that at the end of the last episode. Now he's hacking networks and printing 3D business cards and meeting Adam Sung for lunch. I'm like, is he powerless completely? What how?
So my theory is he's powerless on certain people.
Okay.
So I think he can't touch the Picards anymore because I think something to do with the watcher, the supervisor, whoever you want to call her this week. I think she's actually the other Gary 7. I think maybe that's affecting him, but I also think he's ill. I've said that since day one. I think he's ill. But again, we still don't know that, right? But when he does actually talk in the diner a little bit later on, he says, time is something that I've basically taken for granted. So I'm wondering if he's on his deathbed. Like, Q's actually can die. And maybe now he's losing his powers and they're getting faded, but he still understands that, he can see kind of in the future because he says, in 17 seconds, you're going to sit down. After he starts talking to him, he's like, you're gonna sit down, and he's like, and then later on he's like, 17 seconds, look at that, so like we know he still has some senses. I just don't think he has a snap, which I guess maybe lets him do everything that he wants to do, kind of thing.
He's the most intriguing part of the season. Like, what is Q up to? Where is his end game? What is going on?
And they're still playing with it, which is interesting. So we'll see where this goes. Now we go back to Chateau Picard, and we see a police officer has entered the building, and he's looking around. Now, I have to say, I don't have a lot of sympathy for this police officer because he's literally one of the shittiest people for a police officer possible, because literally there's a woman sleeping on a sofa in front of him, and he didn't notice. And he can't tell me she's just dead silent. Like, that girl's a snorer.
Where's his backup?
Well, that's the other thing, right? So anyway, Leclerc is his name. And he's like, following up on the vineyard call. No activity. The house looks abandoned, but I'm checking it out. Yes, you're clearly checking it out by not noticing anything. And then it's like, he can't get any reception. So I'm guessing the Borg Queen is messing up the reception at this point. And then, it's, I hate the countryside, right? So anyway, but he starts looking around, and as he's looking around, he's shining his light around. And we notice that he actually goes right past Girardi. Girardi's sleeping. He goes right past her. I didn't actually catch that clip, but he does actually walk right past her. And literally starts shining his thing. And now I have to admit, the effect on this was pretty cool. I thought the way that when the light hits it, it starts shimmering and stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. Especially this shot. I thought that was
La
really
Serena.
Neat. Yeah, the La Serena and how they've animated it. But if you notice, even it's got like little hexadecimal, like little hex kind of layers that some are kind of shining, some aren't, and stuff like that. So obviously it's still in building back up mode kind of thing. But anyway, pretty cool. So anyway, he ended up entering the La Serena because he sees it, He ends up entering it, and he comes across the creepiest board queen ever. I'm now going to claim her as that because she is. This lady's
gonna
phenomenal.
help him quit smoking though, Jody. So it's
and she basically starts running a thing like, addicted to nicotine, blah blah blah, and she already has like all the information on him, so she's obviously accessed some sort of network, and she has that information now.
I think she just saw him smoking.
I think she just sensed it.
No, because he already threw the cigarette out before he even walked away.
But he'd still smell of it.
Well, maybe, but I think she just knows all the cop databases now and stuff like that. Who knows?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Her hooks in everything.
She's like, let me help you with that, right? What's up?
I got the feeling she just noticed it in that moment because she's just like, nicotine addiction. Like I think she.
Yeah, it's almost like she just looked it up or something.
I was sure she was going to assimilate him and start building a bunch of drones, but that's not what happens.
Well, that's because she doesn't get a chance to. I think she was grabbing him to be kind of the guy who was going to walk out and do the stuff for her, because she does mention that she's like, either I use you, Girardi, or I use him. Like that's literally what she says, right?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, and then we go back to obviously Adam again. Adam's going into the diner, and sure enough, there's Q. And I really wanted to get a good shot on that pendant that Q's got on his chest there, but I couldn't get a good shot, so I don't know what it is. But they add a lot of stuff. But anyway, so the two of them basically, he's like, hey, just so you know, blah blah blah, and Adam's like, oh dude, if you're one of these crazy guys, I don't want to know anything about this, blah blah blah. I deal with crazy guys all the time. People want, rich people want me to like clone their cat and stuff, which obviously we know he's into cloning and stuff. But anyway, so at this point, I do like the line that Q says here, where basically he's like, I'm this, and I'm also the bringer of death or something like that.
I'm death incarnate, or I'm the angel of death or something.
I'm the angel of death or something like that. Yeah, I can't remember the exact
destroyer
line.
of worlds. It's the quote
destroyer
from
of worlds.
Oppenheimer after the nuclear bomb went off.
Yeah, but anyway, he's quoting different literature and stuff. But just how menacing is Q in this season? Like he's fantastic. I love it.
I'm so perplexed about what
I don't know what the end game is here. Like, I know we're trying to stop Renee from going into space. I get that, but that can't be the only thing that he's here for. He's doing other shit. And on top of that, he spared some of the people that could stop him. So why would he do that? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
It seems like he wants that future of the Confederation to come true.
It's still a game to him, right?
So if that's true, does he want Picard to be this adversary in this season, or to stop him? Or
I think we're kind of getting into a timeline where he actually needs Picard to do something, but he's trying to get to that end game first. So he's trying to get to it, and then eventually near the end of the season, it's going to go full circle, and he's going to go, Picard, you have to do this, or I'm dead. And in turn, so is everybody else, or something like that. Maybe he's the only one that can save it. I think he's going to end up being the saving grace of the season. Is Q. That's my theory.
I think Q is one of the big highlights of the season. I don't feel like we're getting enough of them, but there was a lot in this episode.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Q in this episode for sure. But
and him and Brent Spiner playing off each other, it was great.
Fantastic to see. But we still see that he's got that eye crap going on in his eyes. I still think he's dying. That's my theory on it. He's dying, or he's got a disease or something. Maybe Qs can get diseases. I don't know. But anyway, either way, Brent Spiner's character is like, dude, seriously, if you're one of them these whack jobs that wants their cat cloned, like, I'm not interested, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, time is fleeting or something like that. And he's like, oh, well, I've noticed lately that time is getting away from me, kind of thing. And this is where he's like, well, you're a crackpot. Okay, I'm leaving. And then he's like, well, let me tell you about this. You're going to sit down. You're going to, in 17 seconds, because you pretty much don't have a choice. Like, you're intrigued at this point, right? And sure enough, he sits down. Then at this point, we see Q pulls out this vial of what appears to be only what I can think of as Arctic Blast Gatorade. But it's either that or Baja Blast Mountain Dew. It could be either one of them, really. But I think Baja's a little bit lighter.
I think it's actually concentrated Rev.
Concentrated Rev. It could be a Tim Seymour reference. We don't
Tim
even know
Seymour,
about.
Rev on the bus.
But anyway, nobody's going to get that guess from watching this, but we know it, and that's all that matters. Anyway, so he ends up slipping it over to Adam, and Adam's like, "Oh, okay, this is interesting." And then that's the end of the scene. So then we go back to not Laris,
Talon.
There you go, Talon. You're just gonna correct me every time I say not Laris.
If you want to know her name, I'll tell you her name.
There you go. That's fine. But anyway, so basically at this point, Picard's like, well, we both kind of have an objective here that kind of works out, that both of us kind of work together, blah, blah, blah. So this is what we're going to do. And he starts going off on what they're going to do. And she just kind of looks at him and she's like, do you realize, like, I don't take orders from you? Like, which is true. Like, you know, you're walking into her house and doing all this shit. So end up, he puts back in his power source for his badge. And then she's just like, yeah, okay, I guess. I don't know. So then Jurati starts hearing. All of a sudden, we flip back over to Chateau Picard. There's a lot of flips in this episode, that's for sure. A lot of jumping back and forth. I would have liked more longer scenes with less jumping back, but whatever. It is what it is. But anyway, so we see Jurati, and Jurati's being called to by the Borg Queen. Oh, do we have another visitor? I just heard a beep. Oh, okay. Never mind. Anyway, I thought we had another caller, Dave. But clearly we don't. But anyway, Jurati wakes up to hearing the Borg Queen, like, Jurati, come get me, blah, blah, blah. I got a surprise for you. All this stuff. And she's being very creepy. And now I purposely did this for you, Davan. I tried to get some good screenshots of her. I hope you're okay with them because I know you keep bitching at me about them.
Quite nice.
All right, good. I'm glad to hear that. So I tried to get ones that didn't make her look nuts. All right.
Shocked there.
Yeah. So she looks up. She sees the nice double barrel shotgun sitting there. Now I have a concern. Number one, would this gun be loaded? And number two, where is she getting the ammo for this gun? Now I see a box underneath it, which could be an ammo box, I guess.
That does look like an ammo box.
Yeah, so maybe that's it. But either way, it seems kind of convenient. But anyway.
It's been there for 80 years.
Yep. But the good news is shells usually don't go bad if they're stored correctly, which I'm sure they were stored correctly in an 80-year-old derelict house with windows that are missing. Right. So makes perfect sense. But anyway. Yeah. Anyway, we got this antique shotgun, or at least antique to this time period. But anyway, it is what it is. So she grabs the shotgun. She's like, okay, I guess I better go talk to the queen. I'm going to bring my shotgun just in case. And she's like, okay, what the hell's going on here? And sure enough, she sees the Borg Queen with this cop basically in her little tentacle thing, which I have to admit the tentacle is rather creepy. Mm-hmm. It's a really creepy looking thing. Standoff.
She's like a squid monster.
It is, but it's not. If you actually see it in one of the other shots, it's almost like it's a plastic. It's like a polymer kind of thing. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but either way, I thought it was kind of neat to look at.
What the Borg Queen can and can't do has been kind of inconsistent.
Very much so. Yeah, she must have the ability to do these things. We know that she has these tentacle things. We don't know how they were kind of not being used more, but anyway, it is what it is. She could have just killed everybody on the ship. I don't know why she, with these, if she has these tentacle things, she could have easily killed people on the ship. Mm-hmm. Like if they're in the room, she could probably reach them,
or at least take over the ship.
Yeah, completely. Exactly. So anyway, a little inconsistent, but story-wise and storyline, that's what we need, I guess. But either way, we notice that this cop is being basically threatened, and she's doing the spiel of, well, it's either him or me, or you, Jurati. So you're me now, and we're both lonely. Blah blah blah, all this crap. And Jurati's just like, what the hell do I do? Right. And at this point, she points the gun at her, and she's like, you know what? Now I have to admit, I didn't see the scene coming. I thought somebody was going to get shot, but I didn't think it was going to be what ended up happening. So I'm really impressed on this one. But the thing that I liked most about this, and Alison Pill obviously gets the credit for this, is she starts to show remorse while she has the gun hanging on her, which I really liked. I liked the fact that she's starting to tear up because she does have a bond with this Borg Queen now, right? We know that later on, especially. But it's almost like, it's a weird thing, but I liked it. I liked the idea of it. And then literally we get kind of a zoom in, and we get this kind of, now if you notice, Davan, I've done really good with these shots so far. You're muted, by the way. I don't know if you knew that. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm just muting when I'm not talking, so you don't hear my dryer going off in the background.
Oh, okay. Whatever. That works. But anyway, it is what it is. So anyway, they have this little discussion. I don't really think there was much more to it really, other than, I need kind of a body to do my bidding kind of thing.
What are you gonna do, Agnes? What are you gonna do? You know?
Yeah, very cynical though. Oh, it's fantastic. Very sinister. It's great. This Borg Queen is the standout for me in this season so far.
Yep.
She's done fantastic.
My
And
new
actually, I'm
favorite of
beginning
all
to think
time.
she's my favorite Borg Queen now,
Yeah,
and
man.
that's a lot to say because I love Alice. Alice
too.
was fantastic.
And even Susanna Thompson from Voyager.
Even Suzanne Thompson
she's
wasn't
good.
bad. Yeah, so if I had to rank them, I'd probably do this one, then Alice, then Susanna. So, but that's not saying that none of them were not exceptional because I think they all did great. But
This
this one
will
is
have the most
just
screen
so
time by the end.
nasty. She
Oh,
will,
yeah.
yeah.
She'll
She'll
have
have
And
more
more than
screen time for
Susanna.
sure.
It's like it's definitely the same character, but there's more to it. Like there's more like it's more villainous even than before, you know, which
Yeah,
is
I'm not sure
saying
why I have a
something.
black screen here, but we're just gonna ignore that. But anyway, then we see a close up of Agnes's very, very dirty fingernail. So I'm guessing hygiene hasn't been a top priority so far in this season, which is fine. She's living an dialect thing, and then we see a boom. And then we go to black, and then all of a sudden we go to what appears to be Adam Sung with the blue liquid, which could be Gatorade, it could be something else, could be Rev. We don't know. Okay. Either way, it could be Romulan ale even. Yeah, for sure. Maybe that is the key to everything is Romulan ale. Who knows? But anyway, he's doing a test, and it turns out is it Corey or Core?
Core? Is it Core soon?
Corey.
Corey? Is it Corey?
He
Yeah, I
calls
thought
her
it was Corey. Yeah. So anyway, for Corey, which is who we believe is a flesh human being, it is 100% effective apparently. So he's like, "How the fuck did
No
you
one
do
would
this?"
design a robot who boils in the sun and can't go out.
No, so we're pretty
Worst
sure.
robot
Definitely
ever.
not a robot.
Yeah, we're pretty sure she's not a robot. The only thing that bothers me about that theory is the fact that when she starts talking about her mother, he instantly basically just says, "Oh yeah, she could swim like a duck," and that was it.
There was something. There's something there. There's something
there. Yeah, I don't know what it is yet. But anyway, we see this cool little kind of drone thing, which is kind of like a sun kind of blocker thing, and he has her outside, and he's about to give her the injection. He's already tried it on himself. It hasn't done any adverse effects, but it's certainly we'll see.
He also doesn't have this condition that she has. So what would
exactly? So I don't know really what was the point of him injecting himself with it,
just to make sure it won't kill you. I guess it'd be the only thing.
I guess. Turns out it does have a flaw, but anyway. So anyway, she ends up injecting herself. I have to admit the needlework here is really well done. They did a good job with that, which is really odd. And you actually see her bleed. So at this point, this is where I'm like, okay, she's probably fully human, but who knows at this point?
Well, like why? Because she plays an android in the future. So does Brent Spiner. We don't think that this guy's an android.
Well, we don't, but we also don't know everything that's going on either. So, this could be the start of the androids. We don't know, right? So we think that before and Data and Lore were the first of the series, but maybe there wasn't, right? We don't know that.
Well, we know a little bit. Who's the guy in between? Who's the Enterprise Soong?
I can't remember his name, but
is it Ingo or something?
It's Alton Inigo Soong.
Alton. That's it. Yeah. Right. And so we know that he was all into genetics, and he's presumably the descendant of this guy, of this Adam Soong. And so the Soong family was big into genetics, and then they switched to cybernetics, I guess.
Okay, here's a deep cut for you.
Yeah, but that's because of Enterprise.
Exactly.
If you ever watch that Enterprise episode, he goes, "Oh, cybernetics, not a bad idea."
Which is what I found funny.
Yeah.
Both this Soong and that Soong from Enterprise both get banned from practicing genetics.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to do it anymore.
Yeah. We'll just invent artificial intelligence instead.
Yeah, well, and that's basically like it's literally one of his last lines to Archer. Is like, "Oh, cybernetics, maybe, yeah." Maybe
he says that to himself. Actually, he's like,
"Well, he does say it to himself, but Archer's still in the room at that point. Well, he's on the outside of the gate, but he's
right." And Data's creator, Noonien Soong, right? Like he would been the great grandson of that guy, right? Yes. So, I don't know.
All right. So anyway, so he ends up taking down the drone field after she takes this thing. I thought that was a cool effect as well. And then you kind of see her first realization that she's getting hit with the sun and it's not hurting her. So she's clearly having a great time. Very well done. I thought it was a nice little touching moment, I guess. But the one thing which I couldn't really grab here is if you notice, he's really happy at the beginning. And then as the hug is about to end, he's kind of got this remorse kind of look in his face, like, oh, and then that's why he's like, oh, can we not just, enjoy the day or something like that? Like, so I'm wondering if he already knew, celebrate the win. I'm wondering if he already knew that it was going to wear off, because she's swimming. She's having a great old time. And then all of a sudden this happens. And he's like, holy shit. And she's like, this veiny kind of infection thing starts happening. And she's basically starting to boil or something like that. And, he's trying to get her in. And then we instantly go back to La Serena and we see somebody warping somebody in, or beaming somebody in. And they have clearly a ton of blood on them, which in this scenario is I thought it was interesting how they kind of entered the room. And she's like, oh, no, it's not mine, or something like that, she says. And it's like, but she's got some massive remorse going on at this point. Like, she's got massive cry face. Again, I don't think this is a bad shot, Davan. So there you go. But anyway,
but we find out at the end of the episode,
blood spatter and
tons of blood splatter. Well, and you see in the background, you see the queen has clearly been shot. She's gone. And the other guy is obviously he's hurt, but he's all right. At least good enough anyway. But she's been working on him apparently. But anyway, so then we see that the cop is here, and then she makes something like, well, yeah, no, I got most of the body parts, back in line and stuff like that. Well, except for his spleen. His spleen's in the box over there.
In the box. What's in the box?
and Rios has got this kind of kind of face on him, like, wow, I dodged a bullet by not being with this chick, right? Like,
you should go find that Dr. Rios, the one in the clinic, in the Clinica.
The Clinica, which I'm sure we're going to see again. I'm almost positive we're going to see her again.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and you see she's fucked up at this point. Like, she's got remorse. She's definitely upset at what has transpired here. And then at this point they're like, well, what do we do with this guy? Because I guess we're gonna have to put him back in his car. Girardi's already given him a sedative to like kind of forget what's going on here. Now this part happens to be, in my opinion, one of the best parts of the whole show. This episode anyway. So not Laris and Picard.
Talon
Talon show up. They do the little, Gary 5 doorway
Gary
7
7
again. Gary 7, excuse me. Gary 7, and that's how much I hate that episode. But anyway,
no, I don't like it either, Jody.
Yeah, everybody else likes it though. It's amazing. But anyway, and he's like, oh, well, we got to get my crew involved. They're a great crew. They do great things. Blah blah blah. They are
the best. We've been through thick and thin.
And then all of a sudden, you see them dragging a body. It's like, and she's like, they're dragging a body, and he goes, well, I'm sure there's a very good reason for this.
He's like if you had met my first crew at Riker Wharf,
Riker Wharf, they were great.
Yeah.
Even Tasha Yar, even though she got killed by a slime monster, no big deal. But anyway, you know what? She was great.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'll tell you all about him. But he's just
we'll tell you all about him later. Yeah, yeah. But anyway, and then we go back to the Sung residence where you can see now she's been treated. So she's obviously in better shape now. But she has an IV in her and stuff like that. So clearly, she's being tended to by Adam. And at this point we see kind of Adam staring across, but he doesn't even acknowledge that there's somebody behind him for a second. And then all of a sudden he goes, well, I guess you kind of got me by the curlies. He doesn't say it that way, but I'm kind of summarizing.
He's basically like, whatever, I'm your hostage now.
Yeah, I'm your hostage kind of thing. What do I have to do? Obviously, you've proven to me that this will work. Do you have something that'll work long term? Kind of thing. And he goes, yeah, I do, but you're gonna have to do something for me, right? And he's like, name it, kind of thing. And then we don't actually find out what he's gonna do. So obviously, we're leaving that for the next episode. We'll see what happens there, I guess. Now I also like this scene too, with Raffi and kind of Picard kind of catching up, and he's like, did you notice that she looks like a lot like Laris? And he's like, but we're not talking about this right now, blah blah blah. And she's like, but and she keeps trying to pressing him, and then at the end of the thing, she's like, all right, great talk, and then they just kind of walk off. Like, it was a total throwaway scene, but it was great. I liked it. But it's nice to see that the two of them are kind of chatting.
She's not pissed at him.
She's not pissed at him anymore. Yeah, exactly. So she's kind of moved on. So anyway, not Laris.
Talon.
There you go. Talon's kind of getting them up to speed, showing Q as a fake Sigmund Freud. Anyway, and they're kind of trying to devise a plan, and they're like, well, what do we do? And she's like, well, they have this astronaut gala thing that they do before they go into lockdown, and this will be like, if we can get her to get to the point where she's in lockdown, like, she's gonna have a hard time getting out of it at that point. So, we kind of, we'll have success if we can get her through this ball kind of thing, right? And, everybody's like, ball, well, how do we get into there? Oh, well, you can't just get in there. We can't just beam in there because they got like facial recognition. They got like all these databases and stuff that they run you through. And it's a very, very tight security environment. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to send Jurati then. And I liked Rios's line here because Rios is like, we got a spy and an ex-ranger, and we're going to send in Jurati. And Jurati just kind of looks at him in a little bit of disgust, and she's just like, well, thanks,
Right. But it's another heist. It's another heist, right? And like you remember episode 5 of season 1 was Stardust City Rag, which was another heist.
A very heistish episode.
And again, like,
I'm
going
okay
back
with
to
the heistish thing, though.
But like, they kind of done it. And the same thing with this Jurati thing that we find out at the end of the episode, where she's been like taken over by the Borg Queen. Remind me a lot of like her mind melt. Well, spoilers. But like her mind meld with Commodore O and everything with that, and like and like that she's kind of like this mole inside of their team again.
Yeah, almost, or at least she's got the same type of thing. But the question is she going to get away with it? Because now they know what to look for, right? So
when somebody gets murdered in sickbay, that's what you look for.
Yeah, well, at this point, you would think that they would kind of be like, yeah, things are getting a little suspicious again. Jurati, I don't know if we should put all of our eggs in one basket with Jurati here, but all right. So anyway, the plan is Jurati's going to go in with some fake credentials. She's going to get in. And I guess she's going to end up getting seen, and then she's going to get taken to the security office. That's really kind of their plan here, I guess. So they put Jurati in a red dress and basically say, hey, you're going to a gala. So then we see an actual gala, and we see, obviously, Renee showing up. She's going through security, and they show her passport, which is a French passport.
1996 is her year.
She was born November 22nd, 1996. So yeah, so she's obviously at this point she's 25 or 26ish. Well, I think they said first contact 24. She's 24. Yeah, same year First Contact came out, actually. Ironically, you should ask. I wonder if that actually is the release date.
Actually might be. I think
it might be, yeah, because they put a lot of that crap in there, right? So look that up.
And this is Jonathan Frakes directed episode, November 22nd, 1996. It's totally that.
Is it totally that? Okay, great. So yeah, another cool reference as always. They just keep with the references in this show are hilarious. Yeah, some of the details are fantastic. They do a great job. But anyway, we see the cameras, and the cameras basically face track everybody, and they make sure that they have matches. So because it's a very high security thing, and Picard's like, "Hey, don't worry, I got a plan," and that's all we hear about it. And then we get a nice rendition of "Fly Me to the Moon" by Sinatra.
An instrumental version.
Well, it's an instrumental version, obviously, but obviously the original song is by.
Where's Vic Fontaine?
Well, fuck Vic Fontaine. But anyway,
it
is what it is.
Whoa.
Hey, I don't give a shit about your Vic Fontaine right now. We're not in that universe, all right? So anyway,
our relationship is over.
Anyway,
Joe.
Oh, okay, cool. Anyway. Now we also noticed that on August 6th, 1989 is when who is it? Holly Eva Visier. I don't know how they
her fake identity for this. They made her
she was born in California, San Francisco. Now I'm very interested to know if that's a date of interest, August 6th, 1989. I have a funny feeling that is the release date for Star Trek 6.
I think that was 91. So
was it 91? Okay, so
it might be Final Frontier, though. I could see
it. Could be 5. Yeah, that's interesting. But anyway, look it up when you get a chance.
Star Trek Final Frontier, June 9th, 1989.
Okay, not that. All right. So we don't know what August 6th, 1989. Could be a TNG episode. Yeah, good point. But anyway, I'm sure that's an Easter egg for something. We'll have to look into that later and maybe report it on the next episode. But anyway, she's got an approval to get in, And sure enough, she's in her nice red dress, and we saw her in a red dress in the teasers, so we know that she was going to be in this red dress eventually in one of these episodes. We also see a scene later on where she's running, so I'm guessing something else happens in the next episode. But anyway,
she looked good.
Yeah, she looked great. Yeah, looked great. So anyway, she looks like she could fit in, but she makes it very, very obvious that she's talking to herself. So I think that was done on purpose, because they do need her to get locked up, right? Like, she's supposed to be in the security office. So we get a shot of Renee, and she's got some obvious anxiety going on, and she's watching a projection that's on the wall of previous launches. So you really get the deal that she's having a real problem with this. And then she starts flashing back again to another scene with her in the simulator failing. If she's failing at this point, I'm surprised that she's even being allowed to go up.
Yeah, I wouldn't say skip her to the next mission.
Yeah, she maybe shouldn't be on there. And then she does the typical Picard thing, which is let's have a shot. And so she has a shot, and she
must be a Picard.
goes on. And at this point, she's doing the whole like talking with her ear thing, hand to the ear thing. Like, this woman is not trying to get caught. All right. Like, we know she's trying to get caught from day one here. And she even steals like a bottle of wine as well. Like, just before she gets caught, she grabs a bottle of wine, and then the security guy, basically they say, okay, well, her face isn't matching with the facial recognition software, blah, blah, blah. But then we see another shot of that X1 again. And X1s are always experimental aircrafts, usually for NASA. So that should be interesting anyway to figure out what that's all about. But anyway, we know she eventually runs into an organism or something like that they think is sentient life, because they do mention it later on.
Right. Yeah. And like, it seems like Picard knows a bit about Renee Picard's history, but not really. And he's like,
he knows some of it, but he gets not Laris to tell him that. Talent. I'm just gonna keep saying not Laris now, because
not Laris.
But anyway, so she's like, you caught me. And then they lock her to a chair. And I do like this scene, because she's like, why is she handcuffed? And he's like, well, so-and-so said to handcuff anybody. And she's like, we're so going to get sued for this. Like, which kind of shows you the mentality of the time period, right? So I thought that was
they made some joke. She must be from something. I didn't really get the joke, but
I think it was from a different campus. Like, it's supposed to be from, like, she's a visitor from a different agency kind of thing going on. That's what I got from it. I don't actually know, but
yeah, it
was such a throwaway joke that it didn't really matter. So anyway, and she's having a flashback. She's having a flashback of shooting the Borg Queen. Now, this thing goes so fast, I could not get a good screenshot of it, so I'm sorry. But basically, we see her shooting basically her just below the neck. And then basically, you see her kind of dying out, right? But just before she dies out, she starts talking to Agnes about, we're one of the same now, blah, blah, blah. If you kill me, I'm still going to live on anyway, blah, blah, blah. And Girardi's kind of like, what? And she's like, well, remember that whole mind meld kind of thing we did a little while ago? Yeah, I'm kind of in you now. Right. Which we already kind of knew. But furthermore, you notice she gets injected, which I thought was interesting. Now, we have to admit, for the Borg Queen, she's got some nice nails. So I'm impressed with the Borg Queen's nails. But anyway, and then we see this kind of cool little shot where you can see that she's getting infected, or the nanites are going through her body. And then at that point, we go back to real time, and there's the Queen sitting there giving her a good old friendship hug right beside her, and she's talking to her, and Agnes is clearly talking to herself, kind of thing. But very interesting. So obviously there's some psychotic things going on, and that's where we cut. And that's the only problem I have with this entire episode. This is the worst possible part to cut. Don't show me this at all. Start the next episode with this. And Steve Shive said this as well in his thing. This is a definite bad cut, and I didn't like it. I didn't like this one bit. But anyway, that's where we're at, gentlemen.
Yeah. Like, okay. Like, overall, like all these episodes I think have been enjoyable, but I think also that there are some things I'm not super thrilled with. But like, when I compare this to like Discovery, it's better for sure. Like,
well, at least this season anyway.
This season is, although, like, there are some nitpicks I have, and I feel like, pacing wise, like, that we're halfway through the season. And I'm like, okay, they on some hands they've wasted time. On the other hands, like, I think there have been a lot of good things.
Well,
and
I think the ice thing is probably the only thing I really don't like about the season so far. It seems like a wasted opportunity, number one, but it also seems like massive filler. Like it literally is like we have 10 episodes to fill, but we only have content for 9. Okay, let's do a rescue thing with Rios, right?
Right. Like we'll see if he meets that doctor again, and there's something that's gonna come around and maybe make it make more sense.
That's what I think is gonna happen. I think we're gonna see the doctor again, and I think that's the reason why we have the whole ice thing, because that they were kind of brother in arms kind of thing, right?
Because Davan, we were talking about earlier, like they didn't want to beam Rios off the bus because that would affect the timeline. But then since
letting out all these guys would do the same thing.
Yeah, that would have another effect on the timeline. Maybe they would run home to their girlfriends and they would have babies they weren't going to have otherwise. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
they're bad time travelers.
They're bad time travelers. Yeah, it's just
well, and that's something with Star Trek though, and it's the same thing with Scotty giving
vessels.
Well, it's Scotty in the 4th movie, Scotty's giving them the plans for a translucent aluminum.
How do we know he didn't invent it, in the first place? Or
that's my favorite line of his, actually. How do we know he didn't invent it?
Yeah, how do we know he didn't invent it? Yeah, because now he is going to, whether you like it or not. Yeah. Do you have the
ratings?
The ratings thing, Dave?
Yeah, I do. Let me just bring it up.
I'm interested in hearing.
This was the weakest one for me so far, fellas.
Really? I thought last week's was worse than this one.
No, I liked last week's a little better.
Okay, so Fly Me to the Moon.
Even with that great title.
I did like this episode, although it's not perfect.
Prove it in the points, Dave.
I'll give it an 8. I'm going 8.
There you go. That's pretty solid. You know what? I'm gonna give this 8.5. It was better than last week's, but not much better.
7.5.
Oh, so you didn't like this as much. We don't have Adam's rating because he's currently away.
It was at a 9 on IMDb, but that was this morning. I just want to see where it's sitting at the moment.
I'm sure it's changed since, because it's always high until later on.
It's down to a 7.3 with 123 votes. Wow.
So there you go.
And Frakes and Cindy Apple, who I don't remember ever having seen written an episode before, but she wrote this episode.
I thought it was okay.
This one felt more like a bridge episode.
Right.
Like just getting to the next episode kind of thing. The previous ones felt more like not standalone really.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. But I do like the amount of information they gave us in this episode though. Like we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of Q, and whenever you get a lot of Q, I'm in good shape.
Q and Brent Spiner too.
Yeah, Brent Spiner
he was good in this actually.
Yeah. And the next episode is called 2 for 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we get to watch 2 episodes.
Maybe
for the price of 1.
No, I don't think that's what it is. But
yeah. We got some.
I have theories, but I'll leave it. All right, let's have some comments.
Okay. So, Chaotic Truth saying Star Trek Picard is coming together.
I agree completely. Chaotic.
Definitely a cliffhanger.
Jody, it's not a good cliffhanger though. It's not where it should have been.
He doesn't like Discovery. He says it's hot garbage. Nothing.
I also agree with that.
Star Trek.
Well, I wanted to read the whole thing. Why are you passing by that comment? If Chaotic left us a message here, we should at least acknowledge the whole message. All right. So Discovery is hot garbage. I agree. Nothing but woke nonsense entangled in something other than pretends to be Star Trek. I don't know if I agree totally with that.
I don't know if I fully agree with you.
But I do agree with the woke thing. I think we touched on this a little bit earlier. Dave and I were talking about this as well, where we're putting a little too much of the woke stuff in here. Like I don't mind some of it, but when you start throwing it all in,
have a point, have some kind of a message.
I agree.
Instead of trying to put everything that Patrick Stewart thinks is important into one show.
You know what? We know he loves Pitbulls.
Renee felt like that to me. In this episode, where it's like, she must be absolutely amazing.
Is that all our comments today?
It must be difficult for her with her anxiety issues to do.
It's more complaining about Discovery, really. Just Star Trek used to be fun to watch in the 90s as a kid. I grew up with a great family and great house, but I would have loved to live in the Star Trek universe.
Oh, who wouldn't?
Discovery is a complete mirror. No character development. It's insane that hodgepodge.
I agree with the character development statement, though. There is not a lot of character development on that show. You get 1 or 2 people that get character development, and everybody else is sidelined all the time. Yeah, I agree.
The rest of them are lucky to have names.
Yeah. Very true. Very true.
And he would give this an 8.
Give it an 8
tonight. He would
All
give this
right.
episode an 8 out of 10. Okay, thank
Thanks,
you,
Chaotic
Truth.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Live.
Coming to you live.
Indeed.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap up. I have to run to a Big Brother podcast, Big Brother Canada 10.
Indeed.
It's double eviction tonight.
All right. Well, anyway, gentlemen, unless you have anything else to say, I think we can sign off at this point. I think we've ruined this episode for anybody who hasn't seen it already. So, as we say, spoil alert. But anyway, it is what it is.
So if you've been listening for an hour and 20 minutes,
at this point, if you're at this point, well, we're sorry we didn't say that specifically, but you kind of should have figured it out when it said reaction. But anyway, it is what it is. Anyway, everybody, thanks for watching and have a great night.
And check out Davin's podcast on Locutors of Trek.
Oh, of course. Yes, sorry.
And check out our other podcast, Monday nights, Star Trek Enterprise, Star Trek, Tuesday nights, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And then on make sure to check out on April 9th, where we're doing our next rendition of Star Trek Radio Theater.
Oh, yes.
We're going to be doing Darmok with Davan Skelhorn.
Maybe Chaotic will join us for that as well. That would be nice.
Yeah, you're the star of this, Davan.
Right. I have to somehow.
He's like, maybe I should read lines. That would be a good idea. Yeah. But anyway, for anybody who doesn't know, this is a reenactment of an episode. This is basically a radio episode version of a video episode, where sometimes we go by the book and other times we kind of make our own characters for it. So there should be some interesting, but I do know there will be at least one coolant leak because Jeff Mader is on the cast.
Jeff Mader's playing Geordi LaForge. Yes, that's right.
You guys have another 20 minutes for me to tell you of Gilgamesh and Enki.
Gilgamesh, save us from our madman king.
They slew the bull of heaven.
All right, Dave's got to go.
I gotta go, guys. Thanks so much, and have a good one. Live long and podcast, everybody. Thanks,
Take
Jody.
care,
Thanks,
everybody.
Davan. Have a good night.